Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Another StarCraft 2 commentary for you today. This matchup is going to be between Mouse's MaNa and NaDa. We can see we are on Tal'Darim Altar in the bottom right position. We do have got Mouse's MaNa as our green Protoss player, and in the bottom left is NaDa as the red Terran player. So Terran versus Protoss. Going to be two games between these two players. Let's see how this one pans out. Last two-game series I cast was actually a 1-1. Honestly, not sure. I would have assumed that would have been a best of three. But I don't really know where the replays were coming from. Maybe they were just two ladder games back-to-back, and one of the two players won either game. Either way, not a big deal. I guess this kind of gets rid of spoilers for you guys, as if there's only two games and one person's winning one and then one person's winning the other, it doesn't really kind of tell you anything. So anyways, yeah, that's enough rambling for today. Force, we can see right now NaDa coming out with the supply depot. Very exciting stuff indeed. So today is going to be some StarCraft commentary. I'll be trying to come out with some of the strategy videos for you as well, because I know we were missing some of those late last week as well as early this week. Yesterday I was on that little mini vacation hiking trip. It was a blast. Little swig of the water, and then I think we are all set to go. MaNa dropping the gateway and then moving out immediately after with that probe. We'll be scouting out and heading toward NaDa's base. I actually wonder if he's going to be going to the northern direction. Yes, it looks like he will be. So we'll be heading straight north into the upper right position. So obviously going to be quite some time until MaNa actually scouts out NaDa's base, because we are going to assume that after upper right, he'll be heading on over to upper left and then finally into the bottom left position where NaDa is actually situated. Back over here for NaDa. Opening build so far looks standard. Nothing seems too out of the ordinary. Refinery just about finished around the same time that Rax finishes, and we'll be getting a little bit of Espion just before that pops, and then we'll be seeing that orbital command, a first Marine, and looks like the SCV scout right after the fact. MaNa has realized, yes, that was not the right spot, and now he is heading on towards what looks to be the upper left. First, he will be grabbing that tower. Prime reason for this is he wants to see if he catches an SCV in transit. And it looks like, luckily for NaDa, he will be spotting out MaNa first thing on that initial go-through with that scout. Cybernex core being built in the bottom position. Look at this nice little kind of Sim City here, cutting back on any possible Hellion harass. It, creating some sort of a wall off deters those Hellions from being able to run through and kind of destroy that resource line. So pretty cool here by MaNa that he actually decided to go for that type of building placement. We can see right now NaDa, yes, is in fact confirmed as to what MaNa is doing. He can see a very notable thing too, is that there's only one assimilator right now. He does not have the second Vespian Geyser taken at the moment. Marine scouting out the front, and he will be used to deny that probe scout from getting up into his base. Transition here looks to be into Marauders. Early concussive shell. This does mean that NaDa will be going out with some early aggression. Really the only reason to open up with that concussive shell like this. So we should be seeing a little bit of pressure here from NaDa. Now, he's not expecting to kind of KO his opponent or do a ton of damage, but it's more to be a nuisance and try to at least come out on top if at all possible. Especially early on, those Marauders with concussive shells that can absolutely devastate a Protoss player. And uh-oh, look at this. He now realizes actually MaNa is not only scouting the expansion, but he realizes that they're Marauders with concussive shell this early, so now he will know to prep for that. We also have a Reaper coming on through. It might not see this push anymore though, given the fact that MaNa has scouted out. NaDa may decide not to go through with it and just follow up with that Reaper, but no, it looks like he will be. So he's moving across the map right now. He's got two Marauders, one Marine, and a Reaper coming on through, and as well as that expansion. So let's see how he's able to utilize that Reaper. Looks like it is rallied right over here into this position. Stalker prepared for the possibility of that Reaper, but here we go. One SCV, one Marine, and two Marauders. This sounds like a bad joke. They walk into a bar, and then what happens? Force makes him a drink. That's what happens. But anyways, doing a little bit of damage to that Nexus, and here comes that Reaper. Now the Stalker has been diverted its attention towards the front of the base with these two Marauders, one Marine, and SCV, and there we go. Reaper walking right up in the main, and he will be scouting out. I want him to actually try to get some scouting, but he's actually instead just going to be trying to do a little bit of damage to this pylon. They'll be forcing the Stalker and the Sentry back right now, and then that Reaper will be forced to retreat, taking one shot, and just the one. So only ended up taking one shot there from that Stalker. So I don't believe he ended up killing anything. We do have two kills and all, and actually it looks like those are both workers. So two probes have been killed thus far. So it's something, right? I mean, NaDa didn't take any losses, and he did a little bit of damage. So it is something. Certainly not going to complain about that. Transition, obviously bio heavy. This is the most most popular TVP build. Bio Heavy just being so very strong, and we can see here, looks like he will be doing a nice little mix here, 2 reactors and 2 tech labs. Eventually, we should be seeing him get that factory in Starport, work his way up into that medevac play. But overall, I'm pretty impressed with that opening. Looks like he's going to get another free kill here. Probe walking right into the Reaper, and actually the Reaper trying to make sure he doesn't take any damage. Pulled back momentarily. He should be able to catch up, and there you go. Final shot. Now we'll be walking away as that Stalker makes its way on through. But the Reaper certainly been doing a good job thus far. Did a little bit of damage to that pylon, get that free probe kill. And MaNa will be trying to chase down NaDa's Reaper. We'll see if NaDa's paying enough attention. Uh-oh, walking right by the Stalker. 1 shot, 2 shots. Needs to be very careful. That Stalker's in hot pursuit. There's shot number 3. And it looks like the Stalker's going to get that Reaper. Reaper doing what he can to try to stay away. The Stalker closing in slowly but surely. And here we go. Reaper trying to go to the backside of this base. He wants to try to walk up that ramp before the Stalker gets within range. And he does it. Look at that. I do not know how I just spoke that quickly. I don't know. That's pretty intense, guys. But that was awesome. I mean, I'm thoroughly impressed with the fact that the Reaper managed to get away from the Stalker. Very, very nice play there by NaDa. So some proper micromanagement, paying just enough attention. He did unfortunately take those 2 shots in the middle, but whatever. The world will not end. Back over here inside of NaDa's main, we can see, well, that's not the main. We've got Stimpack and Combat Shield. Looks like they'll be finished at roughly the same time. The Combat Shield should be catching up just a little bit because the build time is much shorter than that of Stimpack, so they should finish at almost the same time. And it looks like it will be a timing push. NaDa moving across the map. And oh boy, what is that? Look at all of those SCVs. This is a huge push here from NaDa, and MaNa fully aware that this is coming. He's going to be getting some sentries. He wants to be able to drop some force fields. This is a big, strong push, and NaDa going in with so much. That is a lot of SCVs. He does still have nice saturation and mining going on, but he's going with quite a handful, and here we go. Force fields getting dropped, trapping most of the SCVs as well as a few Marines, and oh no, the Marines and Marauders on the top high ground getting shredded by those Zealots. More force field wall here by MaNa, and that Observer Scout saved him. He had ample time to prepare, seeing this large push come from NaDa, and NaDa not going to be able to do much damage with this. Yeah, his forces looking pretty measly compared to what's left here. MaNa, although he is pushing forward and actually going to force MaNa to pull down with some workers here. So NaDa is doing a bit of damage. Those 4 Stalkers do want to be careful. That is still quite a few number of Marines and Marauders, although they are stimmed relatively low right now, except for those 3 Marines that just came in as reinforcements. There's a scan getting dropped, just checking the positioning and the type of army that MaNa has, and MaNa seeing so many Marines, deciding to go Stalker heavy here. Wise decision on his part, though. We do have a few more Marauders coming on, and there's another stim pack. Should be trying to pull away, actually turning around to engage with those stim, and that could have been a bad idea in all honesty. He's going to be taking a lot of damage while those guys are still stimmed, and there you go, stim finally dissipating. And he had just enough to be able to mop up most of those Marauders. Those Marines looking pretty thin right now. NaDa keeping up this aggression for as long as possible. Zealot needs to be careful about those concussive shells. Actually, there's just the 1 Marauder sitting right there in the middle, and he is at full health. But unfortunately for NaDa, didn't do as much damage as I think he would have liked to. Just look at that; they are just about even. In all honesty, that SCV push really could have hurt. That it was a stim pack and combat shield timing push with a ton of SCVs, and that could have really done a ton of damage to MaNa. But because MaNa had that Observer right in the perfect spot, he was able to scout that coming, and as such was able to prepare, and that force field wall certainly helped him quite a bit. Now, it does look like we'll be seeing NaDa continue to push. There was a scan that went down, and that apparently took out an Observer there. But NaDa will be continuing up this aggression. Now, one thing that we are seeing MaNa do is try to transition into the third. He does have that Colossus in play, and if he can keep that out of the range of those Marines and Marauders, he should just shred through this. So let's see how this engagement goes. Just wants to micro back to Colossus. As such, NaDa will be target firing it down. That Colossus gets dropped almost instantly, stimming back and using those concussive shells to try to micro away from those Zealots. The Stalker's able to catch up, though, when those Marines and Marauders don't have that stim pack activated, and it looks like NaDa's retreating at the moment. He does have some reinforcements coming on through. Doesn't want to turn face quite as of yet, just pulling back to some of his reinforcements. So, MaNa lost that Colossus, but still, in all honesty, I think he's in a good spot. Let's take another look at that unit loss tab. Looks like, yes, NaDa is a little behind right now, losing more resources than MaNa. So MaNa, very fantastic work there in defending himself. Again, it was all about that Observer. That's the only way he was actually able to spot that, like, just in the nick of time. NaDa preparing his transition though. His expansion is starting to get fairly well saturated. Take a look at his resources. MaNa has that advantage as we would expect given the fact that NaDa threw away so many resources. NaDa will slowly start to climb in the advantage though in terms of minerals simply because of mules being so overpowered. And we've got a ton of Marines and Marauders sitting out front right now and just churning those out. Lots and lots of racks. We'll be using that factory to get some scouting done. He does want to try to scout down here and see if MaNa dropped an expansion over here. You may say, why isn't he using that factory? Not really that necessary when you're going bio heavy plus medevac, and then the transition from there is into Vikings and Ghosts. Vikings to deal with those Colossus, Ghosts to deal with energy from High Templar as well as those shields. And MaNa will be doing some econ harass right now, going up with that Colossus right into the resource line. And let's see how NaDa is able to respond now, pulling back with those SCVs, bringing forward a few guys, getting roasted by those Colossus, so as well as those Stalkers on the low ground with that vision from their Colossus. And this could be a little bit of a scary push here from MaNa stimming forward. He needs to try to get down those Colossus. One of them dangerously low. It's all about the dance, in all honesty, trying to make sure you can keep your Colossus away from that edge and away from the range of that bio army. Another scan going down, checking for an observer, but it was not an observer, just those Colossus that gave these Stalkers vision of the high ground. Doing what he can to continuously reinforce. He does finally get some Vikings coming out. There's one and number two, and that should help him deal with those Colossus. Big problem, though, is that we have MaNa saturating his third right now and primed for a push. So he'll be pushing right into NaDa's base in just one moment. And here we go. This is a big, strong push. We've got 3 Colossus. Those 2 Vikings will take a bit too long to get those down. The bio having a hard time at pushing up against it just because of this huge buffer of Stalkers and Zealots. And oh no, most of the bio is getting shredded. There's still 3 Colossus alive. The Vikings are gone. 2 more Vikings about to come through, and this is not looking good at all. NaDa's expansion getting roasted, stimming forward, dropping 1 Colossus, just has 2 more to contend with. Vikings coming forward to engage. The Stalkers doing what they can, plus a Zealot, and there's no more bio for NaDa, and that's going to force the GG. NaDa opened up this game with some Marine Marauder aggression, and with that, he also pushed with a Reaper and moved into an expansion. The Marines and Marauders weren't able to do much damage and just pushed back after getting a few shots off on the Nexus for threat of MaNa's army. And the Reaper only ended up getting a few shots off on the pylon without doing much more damage. At 9 minutes, NaDa moved out with a stim combat shield timing push. However, at the exact same moment, MaNa moved across him with an observer. This allowed him to see the heavy amount of bio plus those SCVs coming. Because of that scouting, MaNa was able to defend no problem, dropping some force fields, splitting NaDa's army in half, and preventing most of those SCVs from even streaming on in. NaDa didn't really end up doing any damage besides killing a few of MaNa's units in this engagement, and this set him behind tremendously. After defending himself, MaNa worked up to 3 Colossus and pushed out, and at this point NaDa was too far behind and just did not have the firepower to deal with that Colossus plus this Gateway army, and that's what forced the GG. Alright guys, thank you so much for watching. This was the first game here between MaNa and NaDa. We'll be moving on to the second game in just one moment. As always guys, if you like the content, please subscribe to the channel. Thank you so much for watching. Keep watching and keep owning.